So this next one will be a quick little exercise looking at split toning. It's also going to involve going from color to black and white. So we'll get to look at a few things we've seen before as well as some new processes. So let's get started. So first off, we're going to do this with a non-destructive adjustment layer process. So we're going to start off by going down to this adjustment layer button on your layers and go ahead and pick the black and white option. So if you haven't already guessed, we're working on the desertbrush.psd file, so please join us. All right, so with this dialog box, you're able to look at the colors in your color photograph and determine what is going to become lighter or darker gray. So I'm going to start here with the blues in my sky, and let's focus on that. So it's pretty logical. You just think to yourself, okay, well, what would be things that I would find in my sky color? So this would be looking towards cyans, towards blues. So I'm going to go ahead and just adjust this, and you can see my blues are going darker now. My sky is going darker. So I'm able to control the contrast in my image as I go from color to black and white using these sliders. All right, same with the cyans. I can add that to the mix. See if I go over here, I'm lightening it, so I want to go darker. Not too dark, there we go. And now I'm going to think towards the bottom of my image. Well, these are browns, these are sepia tones. This is my image over here, remember? So let's go ahead and focus on yellows and reds for that. And you can see that is having an impact as I go lighter on my reds and yellows. I don't want to wash it out completely. I want some detail in there, so I'm not going to go too crazy on the reds. Got to be careful. And then as I look at this, I can start to play with the two sliders that I haven't used, just out of curiosity, to sort of figure out where they fall into place. So I can see my greens and my magentas. Got a cooler color and a warmer color. Let's see where my magentas end up. And you can see as I slide this around, I'm not really seeing anything at all. So probably not going to see too much of effect on the magenta for this particular photo. And I didn't expect to, but I thought maybe I would see something. Let's try the greens. Again, not really a green photo, but let's just see. I get a little bit there in that sky. You see that right around the horizon? Right where the kind of the brown meets the blue. I got a little... maybe I can make this a little crisper. I don't know. The green's not really having too much of effect either. So you can take a look at your photos and usually figure out, okay, what sliders are going to affect what, but sometimes you may want to just slide them on your own to see what's going to happen. So with this adjustment layer, you're able to control the black and white process, but on top of that, you can also add a tint to it if you wanted to. You could give this a sepia tone if you wanted to go that direction, or you can sort of pick the color you want to tone it towards. You can go towards a duotone for blue or what have you. But I'm not going to do that for this exercise. We're going to try a split tone process. That's a little bit different. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as is in this black and white form. So I've got the black and white conversion I want. I'm going to shut this down. But this is the before, and there's my browns and blues. Pretty simple color scheme. And then there's my after. So right there off the bat with this filter, you can get really interesting results when you go to black and white. And this is why a lot of people these days really, they aren't even applying a black and white filter when they take the picture. You certainly can, and you can certainly shoot black and white or even infrared if you want when you take your digital camera out. But it really, there's so much you can do in post with the conversion process that you may just sort of want to wait and do it in post. It's up to you. All right, anyway. So I'm going to turn this back on, and now let's try split toning things a bit. So I'm going to add more adjustment layers. This time I'm going to go ahead and add color balance adjustment. And this is what my dialog box looks like for that. So if I go ahead and apply this, I can now gauge which part of my image gets color shifted. So for example, right, it defaults to midtones. Let's start with the shadows, which should address the darker parts of my image. I didn't want to nest this. It kind of just happened on accident. Sometimes Photoshop thinks for you. All right, so I got the shadow areas here and the rocks, and I've also got, of course, now my darkened sky, which I intentionally darkened a moment ago. Now, under shadows, I should be able to sort of colorize this, so I can start to go now towards a duotone, much like I did with the filter, the black and white filter, but this time I'm going to do more than one. So I can kind of get the exact shade of blue I'm looking for as I mix these colors. And I'm going to go with that. Just go with whatever you think looks good. I'm going with kind of a teal blue that I like. All right, now the split toning comes in. Because we can apply these to highlights and shadows and midtones separately, we can then decide what part of the image gets colored what. Now I'm going to go warm with my highlight areas, and I'm going to see if I can get kind of a brownish color going on. It looks very red. Let's see if I can add some more yellow. There we go. Kind of an orangey brown color. And so this is a quick way you can get a split tone effect where you have two duotones coming together in a black and white image. So it's almost like you were masking this photograph and applying two different tonings to a black and white photograph in different parts of the image. So this is how you can do it according to value. Now, of course, you could mask it as well, and you could simply apply the color effect using layer mask to exactly the part you wanted to apply it to. But this method works, and it's kind of interesting, the results, because you're coloring really everything in the image. If you want to add midtones to the mix, you can then try that as well, but that's just going to affect, just realize it's going to affect a lot of the highlight and shadow areas as well, so be careful in terms of how much you shift it. But if you want to play with it a little bit to see what results you would get, you're welcome to. But more or less, you're trying to keep it simple. We're not going for 3 colors, we're going for split tone, 2 colors. Warmer colors here, cooler colors there. I'm going to go back to my highlights and just see if I can get a little bit more in there. There we go. Okay. So I'm liking that. I'm going to stick with it, but that was just a quick little exercise on going from black and white and then back to color with a quick little split tone. Let's go ahead and turn it in with these 2 adjustment layers applied to it. Save this out, and we'll see you on the next tutorial.